I think that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned is when you have such great resources, is not to be consumed by the resources. And that happened when she's doing the spell, and she's actually supposed to land, and she's supposed to walk across the planks and go across, and then she creates the fire. But our last take, the harness didn't unhook, so she couldn't move anywhere. And it frustrated her, and she was just there, and she was just living this, and she didn't have to move anywhere and get her cape anywhere. And it was so raw that even though the camera's all messy, we're like, we have to use that.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, the story of Elphaba and Glinda in the Land of Oz continues in director Jon M. Chu's musical fantasy, Wicked, for Good. The sequel to 2024's Wicked resumes the story of Elphaba, the misunderstood Wicked Witch of the West, and Glinda, the popular Good Witch of the North. As their unlikely friendship is tested by the wizard's regime, the arrival of a stranger from Kansas sparks a series of events that will change everyone's lives for good. In addition to Wicked and Wicked for Good, Chu's other directorial credits include the feature films In the Heights, Crazy Rich Asians, Now You See Me Too, Step Up 2, The Streets, G.I. Joe Retaliation, and Justin Bieber Never Say Never, and episodes of the series Good Trouble and Home Before Dark. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in New York, Chu spoke with director Rob Marshall about filming Wicked for Good. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
How amazing was that film? And directed by this extraordinary man sitting right here. I mean,
I'm exhausted. It's okay.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
It's for my 5 kids. I got 5 kids that
That's
they were all in the hotel going nuts right now. So.
It's just, I mean, listen, everybody experienced it here. It is just, it's just this monumental achievement. I don't even know how you can even describe it, because it's massive, and it's beautiful, emotional, so timely, and it lifts you in ways that no other movies can. Musicals, we were just talking about a little bit. I want to know, first of all, just for me, just tell me how you're feeling. Like, where are you right now in your head, and you're about to share this with the world, and how does that feel?
I'm in Amsterdam right now. No, I don't know. It's been a long journey. I'm still processing it, to be honest. You know, we've had this movie as our little secret for so long, and people got the glimpse in movie 1 to see, like, okay, what's the fairy tale version of this, where the hero rises and you get to but the whole reason we ever made Wicked, that felt like we needed to make this now, is for this side of the story, our adult selves looking back at our fairy tales and this idea of possibilities, and now it's shattered all around us. And are we allowed to still believe in those fairy tales, or what's the new version of these stories? Now, being a father, I think about that a lot as being a filmmaker. What are the stories that I want? That my parents, immigrants, came to America when they were 19, 20 years old, started a restaurant. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I used to dream about making movies. I'm named after a TV show, Jonathan, and my sister's Jennifer, from Heart to Heart. So, you know, stories were a big part of my family. And so the fact that I got to actually, like, go after the most American medium in the world, the movies, and then also the movie musical, the most American genre of movies, it's a dream come true. And so, and all those movies that I did before, all these little movies that just sort of built up, I learned a lot during it. So to actually finally get to do Wicked and explore the American fairy tale at a time when we are all trying to figure out what is the American dream and what is the next. Are we allowed to still dream like that? Has been both an honor of my life, but also really has changed, I think, all of us. I would talk about that with Cynthia. I would talk about it with Ariana, and they have very different ideas of how we move forward. And we were able to infuse that in this, especially in part 2, because there's a lot more room to get in and find the meat of that.
Well, you've let us dream, because it is a dream. It feels like this massive dream that we're entering and we're inside of it. It's so beautiful. And we were just talking about musicals back there for a second. Yeah. It's so nice because Jon and I, it's like this very small club of directors who love the form, because we've been told a million times, I know you have and I know I have, that musicals are dead and they don't work and no one wants to see them. But no, I agree. We agree. But so Jon, tell me, they're so much harder than people understand.
Yeah.
They're so fragile.
Yep.
And they think it's like easy and sort of, it's just a musical and that kind of thing. They're dismissed. But to me, and I know you feel the same way, I think, is that they really feel like you're making many movies at once.
Yeah.
Tell me about your feeling about musicals, why you love the form, and what it is about musicals that can, really affect an audience.
Yeah, I grew up all around musicals. I write my name Jon M Chu because I saw a musical, George M, and I love George M. Cohen. I was obsessed as like a 9-year-old, and I was like, my middle name's M. I'm going to sign everything Jon M. My family still calls me Jonathan, but I'm like, no, it's Jon M, and it's just stuck all these years. So, I took tap lessons growing up. Me and my sister, my mom used to bring out the cardboard or whatever for class talent shows. But so it was my parents would always take us to, it was either musical season, opera season, or ballet season in the city, in San Francisco. And so we would go there, and it was just a part of how I lived. And I think that the power of the musical is, some people are saying, it's a musical. It's like, that's song and dance, performative. But actually, the tools that you're allowed to use in a musical, it's actually, you get deeper, you get inside someone's head and are allowed to express that, and not just by words, not a soliloquy, but by a melody, by a note that can express what 100 words can't express. And not just that, by these subversive lyrics by Stephen Schwartz that's saying so much in a line that means triple entendres on top of, And not only that, movement. Oh my gosh, the way John Wayne leans against a pole, or the way Michael Jackson slinks down a chair, like posture, not just dance, but movement says so much about a character. And then you bring that all together and you put that in a movie when it just has to emerge from their words, like Couldn't Be Happier. Ariana Grande, that's an I Want song. It's an I Want song, but she's singing, all the words are the opposite of what she wants. And so she has to understand that what she's singing is literally what she doesn't want. And then for me to be able to push in and never cut away from her. And by the way, she has a harder job because she's Ariana Grande. So we all know Ariana. We think we know Ariana Grande. So we're waiting for her to crack. And she never cracks. And we push in and all the way. And she has to then go from dialogue into song, back into dialogue. When she says, isn't it? Like, to me, that space, that little, I call it like the little space between, where we're building, like, that person has to not be thinking technically, they have to be thinking emotionally, and us as the filmmakers with them have to be able to see that, acknowledge that. So to me, that's the power of the musical, even in For Good, that it can be like a conversation, but because there's a melody, you're feeling it on a different level, and yet they can break from it. She says, look at me, not through your eyes, through theirs. And then you can hear that thing. So I think there's a immense technical, and then on top of all of this, and you know this, we have visual effects, we have sound, we have score with music. Oh my God! If people understood the complications of having a song in the rhythm of your movie, but you also have this beautiful thing of score, and then if you take the energy too much, then the music can't actually land on its thing, and if you do too little, then the music comes out of nowhere, and the themes have to match, and yet you have to create cinematic score, but at the same time, so it has to relate to it, but it has to also have a different breath to it. And then in the mix itself, oh my gosh, when they sing, do you hear when their hand touches the thing? Is it step on a lyric? Should it be to the rhythm? They're singing live as well. So how do you hear their breath? Yes. And do you hear their breath? Do you hear them tremble? every part of this is so technically exhaustive, and yet we can never make it feel like that. It has to be so easy that it just feels like, oh, they just sang. And yet everything is manipulated.
And it's so funny because it does feel seamless and easy, but that's what no one really quite understands, except the way you're describing it so beautifully, how detailed it is and how complicated it is and fragile. I mean, do you feel at any point sometimes with a musical that you could literally go off the rails and it's full on Saturday Night Live?
Oh, at any moment, that tone is, you're gone. But I think what helps me,
it's the singing thing. You know what I mean? It's like somebody breaking into song, because we've all been to the musicals that don't work.
Yep.
And they start to sing and it's like, ooh, they're singing. That's horrible.
Yeah, and so, it's this permission that you're getting from the audience to agree to buy into this. In a weird way, in movie one, we played with this form that instead in the show, you sit down and you're coming to the theater and you're in Oz. And Glinda comes down and she's the host of the night. And she comes in like, welcome to Oz, and you're in. And then, oh, this green girl drops in and she's the joke. Like, ha ha, look at the green girl. In the movie is the opposite. The audience is sitting there and it's like, oh, really? You're going to tell me a musical? And you're going to ease them into this music. Yes, this is a place where we sing and the thing. And then it's this insane world and the sane girl drops in. And Cynthia looks around and is like, what the hell have I dropped into? These people are crazy. And then we use the form. So in Wizard and I, she goes, did that really just happen? Oh my gosh, she can sing? That actually, you know, and then she's like, she's better than anybody in the whole thing. And so we play it into the magic of who they are. And so then by movie two, that expression is a part of her power when she does no good deed. Yes. I mean, that is not just
That's incredible. Let's just have a moment for that song in this beautiful movie. I mean, that is so exquisite and it's so powerful. And it's just, I mean, I don't know how you did that, Jon, because it is so imaginative, but it's so emotional. And you feel the rage and you feel the power and you feel where she is in the story. That's the thing about both of these films. But this film in particular, because it explores the sort of darker side of things and sort of the depth of the emotion. I mean, that felt, as we were just saying, in terms of musicals, it felt so earned. So earned. You're with her, you're feeling her frustration, and there it comes flying out of her. I mean, literally flying out of her. But, I mean, it is so beautiful. Tell us about that incredible, that whole number and how that came to be.
Well, it's one of those power songs, and the more we talked about with Cynthia, it was like not just rage. I mean, we had to play all of that, but there was shame in it. That did she cause this? And when someone like Cynthia is giving that to you, you lean into it. I think that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned over the years is when you have such great resources, is not to be consumed by the resources, because when your actor is giving you stuff that you have to be able to say, oh, I know we spent all this money building this thing, but she's doing this thing right here. And that happened when she's doing the spell and she's actually supposed to land and she's supposed to walk across the planks and go across and then she creates the fire. But our last take, we dropped down and she did the harness didn't unhook, so she couldn't move anywhere. And it frustrated her, and she was just there, and she was just living this, and she didn't have to move anywhere and get her cape anywhere. And it was so raw that even though the camera's all messy, we're like, we have to use that. Wow. And yes, we jump cut to then her doing the thing, but some people notice, some people don't. But we were following that her emotion from it. Essentially, she's doing this alone we had sets, we had columns, but everything else is blue. So she's alone. We're throwing wind at her. She's singing live. Nothing, the grimoire isn't actually moving. And she has to play this all out, and she is giving it her all. Wow. We can just be right here with her and we feel it. And then to bring back this past, and I knew I wanted to understand where her head was at, to go back to her past and see Nessa Rose and see Dillerman, see herself look at Fiyero, because and it was sort of like Back to the Future way, you get to go back and you remember, oh my gosh, she was so young and innocent. When you see her at that age.
That's true. That was shocking to me.
And by the way, we're shooting this back to back. So one day we're shooting that shiz stuff and the next day we're shooting No Good Deed. So she has to age herself in those ways.
Wait, that's insane. So we understand that, well, let me ask you this for you. How do you see this? Do you see it as two separate films? Do you see it as one film? How did you approach it? And how did you film it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, it is two separate films, but we never talked about two movies. It was always one big arc. It was
Because you filmed all together.
all at the same time.
Right.
All one day. I mean, even for good, crazy enough, was rain cover because we had run out of sets to do, and it was raining outside of our Munchkin Land set. And we turned to them. We're like, "Hey, remember that really important song called "For Good"? We're doing that today." And they're like, "What?" They were so mad at me. I was like, I got no other sets to go to. Let's just break the ice. If we don't get it, we can do it tomorrow. Like, let's just try it. And I actually think that helped us. But yeah, I mean, it was for them also, again, singing live with a pianist on the side with their earwigs and miking it live. All that stuff was so complicated and interesting to go after.
I mean, the movie obviously is incredibly timely, sadly, in our world right now. And it the really exploring the abuse of power and how that can manifest itself in the ways that it does in this film. Mm-hmm. And so you're really feeling connected to it on many levels. Friendship-wise, of course, the unconditional love between the two of them, but also what's happening in Oz and what's happening in this sort of abusive way to the world. And I was wondering how you approach that conceptually. I mean, because it's not heavy-handed, but it's there, and it's there in the material. Was it did it happen organically, or was it something that was something you really thought, this is something we need to sort of dig into?
Well, I mean, I think the good thing about every trip to Oz that someone has interpreted, it is a reflection of the time. Even the original Wizard of Oz, written at a time of American dreams sort of drying up, and what does that look like, or even when Wicked was written, or the show was written as post 9/11, and America's under duress again, and trying to figure out your role in the life. And this came to me. I had just finished In the Heights. And I had just gone through my Crazy Rich Asians, like seeing the power of what cinema can do. And suddenly everything shuts down. And home, I suddenly feel like a stranger in my own home. I think we all felt that. Like, what is this place? I'm here so long. And what is it that makes it home? And all the rules, suddenly, like, the adults don't know what they're doing. Oh my gosh, what kind of world are we living in? And is cinema ever gonna come back? And so this movie came to me at that moment. And at first I was like, oh, I just did In the Heights. It's a very like modern musical. Is this too old fashioned? Why do we need to make Wicked? And then I got back into the text and I just started reading it. And those words from Elphaba in Defying Gravity, something has changed within me, something's not the same. I felt like that is what's stirring in all of us, and we don't know what the answer is. So we started this whole thing with, I don't know what the answer is, but it feels like, and George Floyd was happening, all the things were happening around the world. And then I thought, oh, if you have a woman of color singing those words, if you have Cynthia Erivo, and when she sang, she these words that I had heard over and over meant something totally different. And then knowing that, okay, at some point she's gonna have to question what her home is. And Stephen Schwartz rose his hand. He's like, I got a song for that. No place like home. And to question what this place means, and is your place outside of this place? Like so everything felt like we were living in a time of those questions, and yet it wasn't about politics. It was about our human sort of evolution. When you give a human power, what happens to the powerless? And it's a cycle that we go through. And every generation seems like we're tested and asked, who do you want to be? And the stories are maybe the things that help inspire what we are trying to be. And it felt like there was a lack of those kind of stories at this moment. It felt like everyone was wondering, I think there was so much, what do they say? Worries is a misuse of imagination. I think that like blame is a misuse of imagination, that we're such creative, this country is so creative and beautiful, and we're focused now on each other. Who's the enemy? And the fact that this movie could say, what can we be? We're all so different, but we want the same things. And movie one was the sort of setup, and movie two is to me that, not an answer. Maybe one had an answer, but movie two is more of a challenge. Elphaba gives the book to Glinda. I wish we all could be Elphabas, but I think we're not. I think we're a little more Glindas. Like whatever doesn't affect us, and we don't have to. You don't have to bop your boat. You can stay in that your whole life. But at some point, Glinda can't stand that reflection that she looks at. And when she pops it, then she feels it and she engages. And then she's given this book and said, and she doesn't say, I'm going to be Glinda the good. She's, I'm going to try to be Glinda the good.
That's beautiful.
And I love that we leave it on who knows. And even the end credits. Yeah. The end credits, it could have been an emotional, beautiful song. This is the end of a 2-movie saga. But actually, I wanted it to be, I wanted to feel like a space odyssey. Like the future of possibilities is great, and excited to be where these girls are going because of what they went through each other. Even we put sparkles in the sand, so it wasn't like, oh God, what's happening? Where are they going? It's like they have the whole world. They are unlimited now.
It's beautiful. Yeah, you feel that. You feel they're on another journey. It's gorgeous.
Yes.
So you just said "There's No Place Like Home," that beautiful new song for Elphaba.
Cynthia,
yeah, for Cynthia. And so let me ask, and also the other new song, the Girl in the Bubble, which is magnificent and incredibly shot and so imaginative. Oh. I mean, just astonishing. I don't even know how you did it.
Thank you.
But
it was a lot of meetings, a lot of meetings. We had dolls, we had little models. We fought all the time about it.
Well, the big question for me is, that's new material. How did that come about? I mean, did you say, Stephen, listen, we have we want a fuller, quote unquote, second act. We're looking for material, or did it happen more organically? How did that come about, those 2 new songs?
It happened really organically. The first sort of 6 months that I got on this, I needed to catch up of where they have been on the journey of Wicked for the last 20 years. So we went line by line. It was this lockdown, so I couldn't see anybody. So we're all on Zoom, me, Winnie, Steven, Dana, and Mark Platt. And I was like, let's just go line by line of every script that was ever written for this thing, from the stage to the renditions, to the newest version, to the 2-movie version, to the 1-movie version, because they had all these things. And it was fascinating to hear. And I didn't say much. I was like, I just want to absorb. Give me every fight you guys had. And then I would ask questions. I would ping and sort of things. And so I got a really good understanding of how they work. And what's great about Stephen Schwartz, he deserves all the flowers. I mean, every single song that's in the fabric of our culture is in this movie, and now gets to permeate all that. He is incredible.
Amazing,
he's incredible.
Beautiful score.
And I don't think he gets enough credit for it. And he's story first. He's not song first. He's a storyteller. And if you're a storyteller working with someone like, just write the music, that's not what you're getting with Stephen Schwartz. No way.
That's very clear.
Yes, that's very clear. And then we knew that there's moments that I needed to understand more, like what is Elphaba going through? You know, independence can feel like rejection before it feels like growth. And so when is that moment where she questions what she's doing? And then Glinda, we never get to see on stage when she makes the decision. You cut from one scene to the next and she does it. And I was like, what is that struggle like? Because I think that is actually the new view of movie 2, is that that it takes just as much courage for someone of privilege to engage that it is for someone who is the victim to rise. Like, we need to embrace all of that. And so it was either going to be a scene or a song. And so we were prepared to do either way. And Schwartz, raised his hand, as he does, and he's like, I got a song. I got a song for that.
That's exciting.
And he sends you a voice memo the next day, and you're like, oh, wow, that is a song.
That's an exciting moment. Oh my gosh. I know there are questions, and I'm getting a little high sign that people would like to speak, because I want to ask a million questions. John, does anybody have a question for John? Yes, right here. So she's asking about complex female friendship, and how did this movie reflect that?
It's interesting because I really leaned on Winnie and Dana a lot. I mean, I think, again, the adaptation is extraordinary movie too, because we did a lot of things, big and small, in this to make it work. My first conversation with Winnie was private conversation. We were all in the group, and then I had a separate conversation with Winnie, and she would talk about female friendship and the power of female friendship, things that I understood and things that I didn't understand, which is why I love bringing Cynthia and Ariana into that circle too, because they could really help communicate those things as well. And sort of how I said before, of like, you can do all the sets and the VFX and everything and costumes and everything set, but like they had to have room to find the things, like even in the closet scene, for instance. That was not written in the script originally. That For Good happened, and that's what that purpose of that song is. But I didn't call cut in rehearsal. they just kept playing out the scene. And that's how present they were, even in the rehearsals. And I just watched. And she puts her in this thing and she just starts talking to her like, everything's gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay. And she says, I love you. Oh, first of all, we're not allowed to say love in Oz, according to the original rules when I walked into this. But with those words felt so raw and out of that world that I was like, we have to do that. And then they shut the door. And for the first time, they can actually act the way they're feeling because they don't have to give each other strength. It gave me context for good and gave me context to what's happening here. And we talked a lot about friendship. That there's a lot of movies about romance and love. Those are easy because you get a baby, you get a happy ending, and that's how the usual fairy tale is. But friendship's way more complicated. Friendship's like up and down. You gotta forgive each other. Someone's an asshole to you, I mean, but you gotta show up again. And I think that was the whole theme of this, part of the theme of this movie, is that the fairy tale, there is no end. There is no happy ending and there is no tragedy, because you got to get up the next morning and keep going. And so I think exploring friendship in that way I thought was really interesting, but I really did lean on them a lot to find like the nuance of it. Alice Brooks, who shot the movie, even Joe, our stunt coordinator, everybody contributed to the idea, because I knew I couldn't fill in all the gaps.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. Listen, we know that musicals and musical theater and musical films, it's all about collaboration.
Yeah.
And the fact that you take advantage of the wealth of the talent around you, it's very clear. It's exquisite.
I know I'm supposed to take all the credit. But a movie like this, it's really true. Like, it doesn't, everybody is adding layers. And when it has to do with The Wizard of Oz and Wicked, everyone wants to add those layers. We had people in tears when you had the Yellow Brick Road out on our set. Like, you couldn't believe it. Oh my gosh, we're here with the Yellow Brick Road. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, you did it proud, because it means so much to all of us, that original film, obviously. We've all grown up with it. But to have this extend that and pay homage to it the way it does in such a beautiful way, it really, that's a real fine line, and very, very complicated to have that kind of, must have felt incredibly,
scary.
Scary, yeah, exactly. To have that, have that on your shoulders.
Yeah.
But you've done it so beautifully, Jon. Congratulations. Any other questions for Jon?
Back there.
Yeah.
It was incredible. We were getting a show every day. But I think was the shocking thing of it, we weren't necessarily going to record it all live. I've done, in the Heights, we had moments of live thing, but we were in a city, so buses would pass by and honk. So we had to have our pre-records. And so I was prepared. We had pre-records ready. We had the pianist ready. We had all the earwigs set. But I didn't know how much they would actually be able to do, especially flying around in a rig and No Good Deed or any of that stuff. And the moment that they set their, remember, we shot both at the same time. So we had like 6-7 months of prep before that, which means we had to prep, 20-something musical numbers before we ever shot one frame of the movie. We had to choreograph. We had to design the sets that choreography could go on with all the tricks and the things that we needed. We have to have the shoes so that we knew that the floors and the shoes, that they wouldn't be tripping around. We had to have the pre-record so we could actually get some sort of thing to go on. We had to have camera there. We had to be through rehearsals and block it and know what kind of equipment I would need on those days. That's just to get some sort of ballpark of what our budget could be, and then it would change and evolve and all that stuff. And then we show up on the first day and we're like, all right, well, let's go shoot 2 movies. And so you're in. And so it was and so and then when we start shooting and they start singing live and you're like, oh, this is off tempo, because they get to take their time. She gets to say, I'm limited. Look at me. And she gets to take her time in that. When it was on tempo, it didn't have the power of that. And so it's stuff like that really made a huge difference. And Simon Hayes did an amazing job recording that sound. And we had, yes.
This is amazing.
And Andy Nelson, Andy Nelson?
These are people I've worked with too. They're amazing.
It's not possible. Again, people don't understand how difficult it is to get clean vocals. Like, at one point we were singing in the forest and there's these birds singing in the rafters. Whenever Cynthia would sing, when she stopped, they stopped. And Simon Hayes, being the perfectionist he is, he's like, he would play these sounds of birds of prey. to scare the birds. And then Cynthia was like, what is that? And then Simon's like, we got to get your vocals clean. Otherwise they're going to be all over it. She's like, you will not do that to my birds. And so there's birds all over her tracks. But that's the technical aspect of it. And then what I love about the mix, and people think about, oh, that happens on the set and the thing. We have conversations on the set, and they have nuances that they're doing. They're improvising all over the place. And then I have to carry that message into the edit. And Myron Kirstian, amazing editor. So he's finding all this stuff. He's not looking at any of my storyboards. He's not looking at any of my previs. I dump all the footage on him on purpose. We have a great relationship. So that he can find what he finds. It's like, I grew up in a restaurant, so I know it. You're not making the dish when you're squeezing the ingredients. So on set, it frees me of trying to make the movie. We're squeezing the ingredients. Let's figure out what this thing is. Let's find the truth in this. And it frees me of trying to give a result. And then I give it to Myron, and you figure it out. And then, but at the same time, I go home and I get my selects, I sort of cut some things together. He never sees that. I put it in my back pocket, just as like when I'm in the edit room and I watch the assembly, I watch it he has zero context. And I watch it, and it's a very hard day of my life, but it's a new movie that sits in front of me, and I sit with it and I watch it over and over again, and then we get to work, and then I'm like, this scene, I never thought of it like this, but I love this aspect of it. But I have this other idea for this part. Or my idea sucks. This idea is amazing. And then you get through all of that. And by the way, putting temp music into a musical is like hell on earth. Because in order to understand your movie, it has to sort of tie together, but there's none of those tracks that exist. So maybe you have little things here and there, but your movie's not together enough. We edited both movies at the same time. Usually I have to show my cut to the studio at 10 weeks. I said, if you give me 15 weeks, I'll show you both movies. So this is 2.5 years ago. We only did that because I needed to know the master plan. Again, we saw this as a 2-movie year-long experience. And once we got the master plan, I also wanted the studio to understand the tone difference so that they wouldn't expect movie 1 and movie 2, that this was just that. So, and I said, you can't give me any notes on movie 2. Don't even give me a look about movie 2. And then we put it away for a year. I didn't look at it until January of this year after everything. Good. And then we got to re-examine it and go after it. So it's been a process, but a beautiful.
It's an amazing process, and I can't believe you lived through it, actually.
Oh, and by the way, just in terms of the mix at the end, this is the important part. The mix, even in the mix, those thoughts that we had on set about what this moment was like. There's a moment when they first meet each other and Glinda goes and hugs her. And in the mix, we used to use a natural hug, and it's a tight hug. In the mix, it's like a soft hug. So you don't get the moment of like, oh, she's like getting too close, and realize, oh, maybe we're not that close anymore. And so it's those little nuances. In Girl in the Bubble, there is Stephen Schwartz has built this beautiful opening intro into when Glinda starts to sing. And then we have this score that has this beautiful outro, and they're crossing each other, and it's like too much. We're like, something is wrong. Why am I not like listening? And we realize, oh, this is only maybe 8 weeks ago. Which is why I love making movies. You can make a change at any time. She closes the door, and the silence. Like, what if you went silent? And suddenly what we found with Andy Nelson, she just walked, and you heard the shuffling of her feet in this costume. You realize, oh my gosh, it feels like a clown costume. She feels like an actor on a set. And it was so powerful. It was the first time, because she usually comes in with fanfare, you have some score. It was just raw. And then she takes her time to look at her image and her reflection, and it's a little bit distorted. And then rather than an intro, she brings us in, and she barely gets it out of her voice. And she says, "Look, there's that girl in the mirror." And as she sings that, then the strings come in, but the strings don't come in confidently. We discuss this a lot. It comes in hesitantly, just one string that just barely ekes in, and it just slowly ekes in as the song goes. But those little moments make suddenly you're like leading into the song like this. And if you were in the mix with us, you would see, because we all sitting there like, okay, do it with the score. We watch it. Do it without the score. Do it with the thing. Same thing with the closet. That score, we had 3 versions of the score there. There was a version where when the door closes and they come together, because they do this thing where Glinda, she puts her hand up there, kind of like what they waved in the train station. It is the opposite of that, though. And Elphaba puts her hand against it, almost just like their wave, but they don't do the wave. So then I was like, oh, in movie 1, the train station theme, goodness knows, and they wave to each other, and we think that's the end of their story, and then Glinda changes it. She's like, no, I'm getting on that train, and you hear this. But in this moment, what if we used that score again? No one mourns, and this time, she's not getting on that train. Oh, and it was so tragic, and it was beautiful, and we had a huge debate. John Powell wrote that score of how it could build when that door closes. And she holds her hand and it was so beautiful. And then John Powell also offered this other score, this other beautiful, it was not from anything else in the movie. And it was almost so surprising that you don't know where the score is headed. In the same way that this scene, it does not exist in any other form of Wicked, and you didn't know where it was going. And we went back and forth and brought people in, and it became very clear that this score, it felt very beautiful to have the No One Mourns, but one moment later, you're gonna have No One Mourns as well in the sort of choir, this vocal choir thing. And it just felt like, let's make sure the audience doesn't know where we're going.
It's beautiful, it's brave, John, and it's sometimes hard to make those kind of decisions because you don't have an audience in front of you, but you went with your gut, which is the most important thing. I think there's one more question right there, lovely woman there, yes.
Well, that's an easy question answer.
That's the best question ever.
The lawyers. The 1939 movie is owned by a different company, and those were ruby red slippers. That's like their most prized possession, and the crystal slippers were from the book, the L. Frank Baum book. And so on stage, their thing was it was crystal slippers, and it heats up to turn red for a moment, and that's it.
We saw that.
We saw that.
Them go red.
Yeah.
We all saw it. Loved it.
And that's about as far as the lawyers would let me go.
That was fun. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Chu and his magnificent, extraordinary film. Congratulations, Jon.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.